I'd like to introduce to you a band that you know and love. Come to you like the sound of equipment being thrown from a moving van, the sound of dead cell phones and oil rigs, the sound of empty parking lots and school buses. They love to live and live to love. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Children of America, the White Stripes.
Hello, come on in. The water's great. My name is Ryan Schaap, and this is the hardest podcast to podcast, the podcast celebrating the White Stripes' entire musical catalog, one song at a time, one song per episode. How are you doing this week? I'm doing pretty damn well, not going to lie. There was some big Jack White related news. 9 shows across Europe announced in June, I think. So everybody begins to wonder. Everyone begins to think, put on their chapeau, their detective hat, and wonders what is next for the literal third man. He's the musical guest on SNL. The combined package of Jack Gray. So might have to do some bonus content around that. But starting to feel like there's some new Jack White music coming around, and I mean we're all. Sign me up after No Name, after Return to Form. Return to Form. A return to garage rock roots, maybe. Return White Stripes-esque songs. I really enjoyed that record, and I really enjoyed everything about the tour that came with it. So excited for what's going to be announced. But I'll hold off on any transcontinental flights until I find out if he's playing in Vancouver or the Pacific Northwest. Hello, Stevie. My copy of Handsprings is not here yet with my zine multi-ball. So we will hopefully towards the end of this week we'll have some bonus content for you over on Patreon. That being said, if you do want to support us, if you do want to support me, if you like what I'm doing and you think I could listen to Ryan flap his gums a little bit more a week, let's add up that monthly average to 1.25, maybe 1.5. You can go head on over to patreon.com/hardestpodtopod. That link again is patreon.com/hardestpodtopod, and you can check out what we're offering. And you can check out some of our bonus content. There's a couple of tiers. You can be a highball stepper for $25, or you can be steady as she goes for a mere $5. And shout out to all of the lovely, kind souls that have made their way to that URL and decided to dust off the old credit card. And I greatly appreciate that. So head on over to patreon.com/hardestpodtopod. I'm worried in the past, since launching this on this show, that I have said my old podcast Patreon, which I've said so many times over seemingly a decade, it's like muscle memory. So if I say patreon.com/pucksonnet, what I mean is patreon.com/hardestpodtopod. There's some P's in there too. You can also support us at buymeacoffee.com. These are all the things we do. You can find all that stuff at hardestpodtopod.com. And I've said hardestpodtopod.com so many times that if you're mad at me, you don't like it, send me an email to ryan@hardestpodtopod.com. So Nate Prevedoros, he makes his third appearance on this show. I caught his band perform a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. I loved his approach to music and songwriting and performing. So he's back. We're going to talk about his band Dead Summer a little bit, but we're also going to talk about this banger of a White Stripes song off 2005's Get Behind Me, Satan. It's Red Rain, a song. It's another song that fell to the wayside of my small little teenage peanut brain, but in listening back to it today and in the days that led up to this, there's just a lot of depth to this. There's a lot of polarizing parts of this song, and I'm looking forward to dissecting it with Nate. I also want to thank you if you checked out last week's episode, Red Death at 6:14. Last week is Red Death at 6:14. This is Red Rain. The real question is Red Bowling Ball Ruth, the next one. Those are the Red songs, right? Are there any more Red songs by the White Stripes? We know that they've got 6 little songs. We know they got a lot of songs about homes, at least a lot of lyrics. Red Bowling Ball Ruth is the last of the Red White Stripe songs, which I guess if you combine those together would be the Pink Stripes. Red Bowling Ball Ruth is a great song. Last week's episode I really enjoyed with Matt, and just the sleuthing that went on and learning about Rude Randy and Rude Rick. For the wrestling fans out there, there is I'm getting confused. I want to say Rick Rude, but it is Rude Rick, and he does not like that you're mooching in on his territory. You're honing in on the southwest side of Detroit. So Rude Rick doesn't want you doing that. Time for our call to action this week. Here's what we're going to do. It's time for you to hit pause on this podcast, go to your streaming platform of choice. It's time to go to Get Behind Me, Satan. It's the second last track, Red Rain. I want you to take a listen to it. Really crank it up. It's a really outstanding song. But I want you to take a listen to it so that it is as fresh in your mind as it is in my mind and Nate's mind when we discuss it. But also, we want that little bit of streaming data to keep correlating and rising and being an accurate representation of the footprint of this podcast. So if you don't go to Patreon, you don't go to Buy Me a Coffee, and you've shared enough on Instagram and you've given the Apple reviews and all that stuff, a great way to support this show is whatever song we're listening to this week, just blast it on your streaming platform of choice. That way, when the fat cats at Third Man start looking, they go, oh, there's a big bump in Who's a Big Baby. And even if it's 50 people, it's like, well, that seems peculiar. So that's a great way to help this show. It all is in an effort of making this podcast and this endeavor as loud as possible. And with that being said, it's now time for our conversation with Nate. Our guest this week performs in the great band Dead Summer. They're fresh off playing a blistering set at the Biltmore Cabaret for Soma Fest, and they are supporting Cold Fame and Freeze the Fall in their co-headlining tour at their April 30th stop at the Glove Life Studio in Nanaimo, British Columbia. He is Nate Prevedoros. Nate, how are you doing this afternoon, my man?
I'm feeling great. I'm happy to be here.
That's all you can hope for out of a guest. I don't want. I mean, I'm sure there will be one that's just like this,
dude. Let's just get this done. Yeah.
You paid. I don't know. It'll be some bigwig that has like a book to promote or something, and it's like, I can't believe you paid for this. But all right, here we go. Like, just start the clock. I got 40 minutes. I don't care how many words I say in it. But not the case with you.
No.
Nate, I was just looking up your upcoming gig. You got a band. Why didn't one of those bands get the memo that you clearly only play with other two-piece bands?
I don't know, man. Somebody didn't send an email at some point. Or send a letter. Who knows?
It's tough, man. It's tough to see, these little policies not being adhered to.
Yeah. But we'll let it slide for this one, I think. So
I think that's the polite thing to do, is the direct hometown support on a tour.
Yeah.
I saw your band play a couple weeks ago at the Biltmore. I have a couple questions. Myself and some other people involved in the show are a little mesmerized by your rig. My first question to you is, what drew you to playing a bass with that rig instead of playing guitar, or what brought you there?
I mean, I'm a big fan of two-piece bands, if that's not obvious. But like White Stripes was probably the earliest one that I listened to. But one of my current favorites is a band called Royal Blood out of the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Kerr, the lead singer and bassist in that band, he that was kind of the inspiration. Also DFA, Death from Above,
of course,
Canadian band.
the pride of Canada.
Yeah,
One of them.
there's just something about. I mean, also from a technical standpoint, I found it easier to just messing around with guitar tones and stuff. It was easier to shift the bass up an octave, get that like guitar sound, than it was, and get that like big full. We in Dead Summer we play a lot of riffs, and so it's a
riff. You're a riff heavy band.
We are, and it's just got a punch. So it was, you can get a lot more low end out of a bass than out of a guitar. Easier to shift the bass up than shift a guitar down is what it came down to. And also something new. Like I've played guitar in bands for years. To switch it up was just kind of fun. Felt like the thing to do.
Playing a bass past, outside of the general parameters is just inherently fun. Like when you can put a muff on there, or you can just start riffing on the first couple strings. Like it's a completely different. It doesn't take much for a bass to be a completely different instrument than what it's expected to be.
Yeah, and there's some shock value to it too.
Yep.
I think one of my favorite things is, I mean, us being a kind of a new upcoming band, is we get a lot of people at like the front of the crowd that have never seen us before. They don't know who we are. And I bring out a bass and they think they know what to expect. And then before I hit the first note and I see them going, oh, wait, what's going on? What is that?
Where's all this shit? Where's all these sounds coming from?
Where's the guitar player? What's happening?
Another thing about your sound, and I say this in the nicest, most complimentary way, and I said it to you at the gig, that like, you're definitely borrowing from Jack White's Bag of Tricks in terms of kind of performing and playing, but you're doing the things that people are afraid to do. There is a frantic style to riffs and to solos and complicated parts of songs that you just like, you take the ball and run with it. Why?
Like, how so? Like why?
Like, what drew you to, like, when did you gain the I'm just like blown away by your ability, and I'm like, when did you get that confident to do all of that and sound like that on a bass?
Oh man, I mean, it was Dead Summer spent, I think, a solid year. We didn't gig, we just wrote, and a lot of it was messing around with my pedal board and effects and trying to get the sound out of the bass that I wanted to. That wasn't it definitely wasn't an immediate thing. It was countless distortion and fuzz pedals that I would buy off like Facebook Marketplace and then proceed to sell when it didn't work. And then buy another one. And I landed on one that works really well for the sound, but the sound is ever expanding. But yeah, no, it took a lot of time, a lot of practice, and it was very uncomfortable at first. It was, yeah.
You're describing like everything you're saying sounds very Jack White pilled, which I like. A meticulous approach to your art. Taking that time to figure out exactly how you want to do it, how you want to capture the sounds that are in your head that come out the fingers, and putting yourself in an uncomfortable spot, like in terms of performing music and recording music. Like, it's cool and fun to play the bass and strictly a bass, but there's a hell of a lot of, there's some limitations on there, but you just gotta go for it. And you and your drummer, Michael, like that is a guy who is just, I haven't seen a live performance of two guys dialed in while playing playing a groove and being in the pocket, but it's also like some of the more complex, like, you're riffing on bass and he's riffing on a drum set, and it's like, God damn.
I don't know if people like, Michael and I always talk about how like there's this mental game that we're both playing where it's like we're playing our parts, but like for him it's because we don't not that we're opposed to using backing tracks. I mean, I love a lot of bands that use backing tracks, but we don't use any like full tracks throughout our songs. So it's a lot of he's triggering, he's got a sample pad next to his kit and he's triggering like synth stabs and different like sub samples and stuff like that. But he's triggering each note while playing a groove, which
Jesus.
it's crazy. And then for me, it's like I'm singing and I'm playing these riffs, and I have to like the amount of times something. If anybody ever had like blackmail on me, it would be it would be a recording of me sitting trying to learn a vocal melody over a riff that I wrote. It's just me playing it like one note by note and like breaking down syllables, and it sounds awful for like a month, and then eventually I'll get it. But yeah, it's there's this. Anyways, my point being, I don't think people realize how hard Michael works in particular. Like I'm riffing and singing, but I've been doing that for a long time. He's playing essentially two instruments at the same time. So yeah, he's incredible. He's great.
And that brings us perfectly into the song this week, Red Rain, which I was watching a few musical performances of, and Meg having to transition from the bells at her left to essentially there's a part in the middle of the song where there are the bells, but she has to go back to the drums. So she's holding two sticks and she will play like the first couple bars of just like, just she is da 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 da, and it's like she can't screw up. I watched her at the when they perform it in live at in the basement,
right?
And she drops a stick during this song, and I'm like, oh my god, doesn't miss a beat, reaches into her drum, her stick bag, and accidentally pulls out one with like a marimba on it. I'm like,
it'll work. It'll do.
It'll work.
I feel like this song like really showcases Meg's talent, and like just how locked in they are too.
Oh, and to know that they played this song, live on the floor, recorded.
Yeah.
And then, there are some White Stripes songs that we've covered in this show that like it could be a little clunky if things don't go perfectly live. So it's like, let's just look, Rag and Bone was one.
Mm-hmm.
You would just kind of get the riff, So I totally understand that. But when I'm listening to the demos of this song and watching them perform it, I'm like, this is a song, this is a song that is perfect for the White Stripes to show how locked in they are and how they like to perform live. The weird little detours on their songs that they can go down, like they're built into Red Rain. Like this was a song. This was the White Stripes were in mind when they came up with this song. Mm-hmm. Their chemistry was in mind, and their ability to just play off one another was like, hey, how can we showcase that? It's Red Rain.
Yeah, and you get I think it's one of my favorite vocal performances on Jack's mm-hmm. part too. You get a lot of things you would expect, and what makes his vocal delivery unique is it's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so this song is the second last song off of Get Behind Me, Satan. It's an album that's all about people that have wronged them and kind of the unfortunate reality of their fame, and Jack's gone on to say that the main theme of Red Rain of Get Behind Me, Satan is truth, and that's very evident in Red Rain. Just in terms of I listened to the album today because it's like, after speaking a couple weeks ago with Mike about There's No Home for You Here, where like every single song on a White Stripes album is like purposefully put there. And that's no different for Red Rain, because like you have a album that is building to like this frustration and unhappiness, and like just you're at wit's end, you're at your limit with like these people that are not being honest and truthful with you. Red Rain is like the last fucking cacophony of just chaos before it's like a crash out and I'm exhausted and I'm over it and I'm lonely, but I ain't that lonely yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's a perfect way to end this, almost end this album. But you brought up the vocal performances, and for me as like a teenager when this came out, I was listening to it. I'm like, why is he singing in such a dumb high voice? And so much, and it made me think that like he's singing like, I think I interpreted it like with the bells. These sound like kids' bells. He's singing with a higher pitched voice. It all just screams like this is the part of the song that represents like the innocence of this band and this art and this movement. And, we're going to sing a little higher pitch to kind of represent like a childlike approach to it. And then in the choruses, it's just like the grown up adult rage. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fucking over this. What stood out you just praised his vocal performance. Like, what stands out to you with it?
I was just, while you were saying that, I was just thinking like this song there's a lot of frustration in it. And I mean, the vocal delivery, like his performance just like, it literally screams, and it just screams that like he's at his wit's end and he's like strained. Yeah. And even then, even with how high that vocal is, like I don't know if he goes much higher than that. I'm sure he can't, but like it's like his voice is distorting, it's strained. That's just, I think, what makes the song too.
Yeah. There's you regularly hear them talk about like the White Stripes are three instruments, and it's like it's guitar, it's drums, and it's vocals being which you don't really think of as an instrument, but it absolutely is. I can't think of a better example of like those three instruments being used in unison better than like the in the red, in the red, in the rain, where it's just like that slide guitar and Meg's just beating the shit out of these drums, and Jack is tearing his vocal cords apart, and it's like all of these, everything sounds so similar and works so well together. It is outstanding to listen to, and this is a song I want to listen to louder, progressively louder, and progressively louder and progressively louder, because it does such a good job capturing that.
And it's so simple. I think every time that we've done this, we've mentioned how we've talked about how like simplicity is key, and there's something to be said about them playing like there's no like syncopation happening. They're just hitting with each other. They're in unison. There's no crazy intricate chords or anything. It's just like raw energy,
Yeah. And I sent you a link on the Get Behind Me Satan 20th anniversary box set. They have the demo of Red Rain.
Right. Yeah.
And it's quite clunky, but it's essentially all there with the instruments and the elements they want to use. It doesn't seem like it took a long time to figure it out.
No, and I think those are always the best songs, the ones that just come together. Yeah, and it just makes sense right away.
Meg's drumming is if we're making our sizzle reel of like what makes, or Meg sounds the best and sounds the coolest, it's her in this song. And there are so many parts where the guitar and drums are playing in unison, but also like not, they're kind of hitting on.
She grooves in this song. That little they drop in. I'm blanking on what the lyric is right now, but
sure.
They drop into this groove after the intro. That's just where she goes to the floor tom. And I remember the first time I heard this song, and it was just like you just kind of settle into it, and then they throw you back into like the main riff. It's like, whoa, where am I going? But yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
And it's nuts to think about, and the White Stripes are a context band where like the more you know about them and you know about their like approach to recording and music, like the more amazing they are. But like when you hear that, you're like, God, I imagine how many times they practiced that and they tried to, make that as cool as a groove as possible. And you're like, no,
Probably
this
like
is
three times.
yeah, it's probably the third time they played this song live. It's like, well, that's everything you want to hear.
Yeah.
There is not a lot about this song out there, which I find a little odd. Outside of the demo that they released with Get Behind Me Satan 20th anniversary last year and what Ben Blackwell wrote about it, there's never really been that much information about like the what went into this song or and how it stood out. And it's always been a real mystery for me, because this is one of those Get Behind Me Satan songs that just kind of you give it, it's up there with The Nurse, just on the way it sounds. It gets there in the end, but you're like, this is a strange ass journey to get a 6 song together.
It sounds, I don't know if they've ever said when they wrote it, but it sounds like a song that was written like in the early days of the White Stripes to me. I don't know what it is, but it's just got that and maybe that goes back to like him singing in that higher pitch. So a lot of their earlier stuff, he did that, and like again, what you were saying about how it's like it showcases like the innocence of the band. Yeah, it sounds like an early White Stripes tune to me.
Yeah, especially like, there's some quirks and some unusual approach to music around that first album that really kind of comes back to this. Another key part of this song is these bells.
Right.
Do you know anything about the bells that Meg plays on this?
I don't.
Okay.
I have a feeling you're going to educate me here.
So these bells here, which this is a spoiler alert, but they had those bells on that photo was taken on the Icky Thump tour. The bells were set up, but they never played Red Rain on the Icky Thump tour. So you would, those bells were always there, taunting and teasing. But I had no idea what they were, and they're called chroma note desk bells, and you put them on your they're for kids. It's for learning music, and you put them on like your desk, and they're color coded, and you can kind of bap them around to make sounds and to make melodies. And I get the feeling that's what Jack was using on that demo,
right?
Because the tone of those bells, it's got like a press down and a release that it's very unusual. I'm not a bell head. How well versed are you in the different types of bells out there, Nate?
Dude, I play guitar and I play bass and I play a little bit of drums. I've never played any bells.
Did you ever have one of those assemblies where like there's like the bell class and they wear the white gloves and they like ring the bells? Did you have a bell club in your elementary school?
No, I didn't.
It must be a 90s thing.
Yeah, maybe.
So these bells, I don't know. That's one thing I'd love to know. That's something you want to ask Jack or Ben Blackwell about. But like, he had these bells. They put them up and away on a stand that looked like a piano key. So if you knew your notes on a keyboard, you could kind of see what they represent on there. And they just appeared. They were, when the Get Behind Me Satan tour started, the stage looked really different. The amps were the same. There was a bunch of timpani drums.
Yeah.
There was a what is that called? That xylophone thing called marimba. There was a marimba,
yeah.
And you went, okay, let's see what they do with this. How did, in your opinion, how did all these strange instruments being entered to the fold, how did that come off? How, was it a good move? Was it a move that heightened the band's creative abilities? Or did you kind of look at it and be like, keep it simple and, and you don't need those?
It's interesting because like when I was a kid listening to their music, it was usually, to be honest, like they like Red Rain with the bells and stuff, like it put me off at first because I was like, well, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for Blue Orchid and Seven Nation
Big
Army
guitars.
and, all these guitar solos and stuff. But but I don't think I didn't think about it too much at the time. I just went, oh, this one's not for me. Moving on.
Yeah.
Little did I know, if I had just listened a little bit longer. Impatient little Nate. But yeah, no, listening to it now, it's I mean, I think it's just like any band when you when they start out, like there has to be somewhere to go. Like creatively and sonically, there's I do think that there's you need different instruments or different sounds to inspire new songs. Like I can relate to it in a sense of like when I get a new guitar pedal or something, even if it's just like a different distortion, a different fuzz that sounds a little bit different. If I really love it, it usually inspires something new, and I'll approach it differently, or a riff or something that sounded like trash before all of a sudden sounds really cool. So I mean, I think it's a really natural move for any band to kind of expand their arsenal. But long answer short, when I was a kid, I was like, nah, I don't care for this. But listening to the music now, I think it's really cool that there's this progression and like a sonic change. Like you get something new.
Mm-hmm. You get something new. It the hum and the feedback of the amps, they turn off for a bit and you kind of get your bearings. But like, they're adding instruments that aren't exactly easy to. There's something easy about adding a marimba or a timpani drums or children's bells.
Can you imagine and the logistics of transporting that rack of bells around on tour? Are you joking? That would be it, because it's not like it's a small instrument by any means.
Oh no, but like they're not. You think of like I always love using like old hair metal band references, but like Guns N' Roses just adds like this really outstanding keyboard player to the band and like to make it sound even better. And it's like this isn't an effort to make the band sound better; it's making it even more difficult and harder to perform a song. And these are also weird songs.
They are. They're very weird. Yeah. Whenever they add a what was it? Like they use a mandolin a couple times, I think. And I remember Little Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first time I heard that being like, whoa, what is this?
And just thinking about that, like all of the things that stand out on Get Behind Me Satan to Elephant, and like Elephant is probably their best album. But they don't veer from what they know, which is a keyboard and guitars and a Digitech whammy. But on Satan, they've got these insane songs that are kind of all over the place that, as much as I would love to hear them performed live with just guitar and drums, these songs wouldn't be nearly as memorable and nearly as special if Red Rain was just like the bells were a solo or just guitar notes or something else. Like all of these songs on Satan are just so unique, and they require this stuff. And yeah, I keep thinking back to the very strategic steps they made to keep themselves simple and I don't know, to keep the focus on the simplicity, but also like doing as much as humanly possible within it. And I just begin to love and more and appreciate the weird shit on this. That again, if the nurse was just guitar, who cares?
Yeah, and there, but like the bells as like I don't know, at first glance is like as to be honest, as complicated as bringing those bells onto the stage and having it there for such a limited amount of like usage, like it seems complicated, but it's also like what a simple instrument to give Meg, because she's still she's hitting things, so it's still, it's got a percussive element to it, and also like it also just brings the fact that they're bells that are meant. What are they called again? Chromios.
They're called desk bells. Right. They're for like to put in front of you on a desk at school and bow and bop around. And
it just brings it back to like the childish nature of the band. It's
100%.
Like in a way, it's perfect. I would if I don't think I would ever think of doing that, but it just makes sense.
I think at the time, you worry that like people would think like, oh, she's not a good drummer and she plays like a kid, and in that time, without knowing the word infantilizing, like people would think that that either Jack or themselves were like infantilizing Meg, like you play like a kid bashing on pots and pans in the kitchen, like here's some Fisher Price bells, essentially. But it's nothing like that at all. It's here's a challenge. Can we make a song based around these kids' bells? And not only do they do that, they come up with this like just this insane melody and just like this raucous, over the top song about being at wit's end, and then pairing it with this, I sound like a kid, and this is what my innocence inside my head sounds like. Mm-hmm. It's brilliant, man.
Yeah, it is.
Let's go to this song's legacy. People, again, this was a polarizing album, and the reviews were quite polarizing in that. The Guardian, they mentioned while we're reviewing Get By Me Satan 20, the theme of trash trust smolders through. The nurse looks with narrowed eyes at trusted domestics wielding machines laced with poison. And Red Rain declares, if there's a lie, there is a liar too. I can't believe we didn't even talk about that. I love these lyrics.
They're incredible.
Like we've all been in a place, like we've all been the name of, we've been the subject of a rumor or gossip or hearsay. And it's like, the people that are clearly gossiping about you go, I don't know who could have said that. And you're like, well, like somebody has to lie for there to be a lie out there. Somebody needs to be a gossip or like to talk shit. And this is like a lesson that like the earlier in life that you can learn, the better. But like, when I hear this song, Nate, I don't know about you, but I think back to the wisdom somebody gave me, that like, if you're with somebody that talks a lot of shit about people and gossips and runs people down, they do that to you, chances are they're doing that about you to somebody else.
Totally. Yeah. 100%. It's again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. It's such a simple lyric. Yeah. Like, it's almost like, I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy, and sometimes you hear just the simplest jokes hit the hardest.
Absolutely.
And it's usually the kind of thing you're like, why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
look, think about there's such a difference in perception from society of telling a lie there's looked at one way, then being perceived like being a liar. Like those are two completely different things. And like, oh, I told a little lie to benefit somebody or to make a situation easier. And you go, yeah, we've all been there. But no, you are a liar.
Yeah.
And like, don't call me a liar. Like, my dad had this phrase when I would be bullshitting and like lying and not saying I would, do whatever around the house and I didn't do it. And he'd be like, there's going to be a time in your life where you're going to have no job, no car, no money, no friends. Like what? He's like, but at least you'll have your word. And he goes, and right now you don't even have that.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, Dad. So yeah, it's what's so simple about this song that hits so hard. It's like, well, if there's lies, there's a liar too. If there's a sin, then there's a sinner too. And you're like, oh, I did a little sin, but I'm not a sinner. It's like, well, motherfucker, you are. Yeah. You are lying and sinning. Like, what else? If it quacks like a duck and it acts like a duck, it's a goddamn duck. And it really plays in on this, like, I can only imagine the Detroit scene. Like, this is all about those relationships and those friendships falling apart with Jack and Meg and people in Detroit. And I could only imagine, like, I'm just thinking, like, Jack's like, dude, you were just talking shit about me or my band. It's like, he's like, well, I was, but I'm not like an asshole. And it's like, well, yes, you are. You're saying you're not standing up. You're not saying what is happening is wrong or a lie. You're just kind of help make it grow and get a little bigger. So yeah, I'd be pissed off too if that's what I was facing. And that's exactly what I would be singing about.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, and again, going back to the vocal performances, it's just the lyrics match the delivery so perfectly.
Because you've been there, like you've got somebody lying to your face, and it's just like acting maliciously to you, and you're like, I don't treat people like that. I find ways to, whether it's somebody I know or work with, and it's like, I'm not going to get to a spot where I'm going to be a dishonest liar. I am going to do the right thing so I don't get to that spot. And you are lying your ass off. You're lying through your teeth at me right now, and you're going to feel this red rain any second now.
And there's something very punk rock about it.
Oh yeah.
That I always love when Jack brings those kind of elements in.
Yeah. Like there's life isn't that complicated. There's a right way to do things, and there are wrong things to do and right things to do. And if you are doing the wrong things, I hate to break it to you, but you're not a good person. And you are lying about the type of person you are. So now you are a liar and a sinner. Fuck, great song.
It is a great song. It really is. And also just the imagery that gets painted with like red rain, like standing out in the red rain. I picture just picture like Jack outside a window late at night, and it's raining red rain, and he's screaming at somebody's window, like how they wronged him. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And I truly love this lyric. You think not telling is the same as not lying, don't you? Like, fuck. Like, I just didn't say anything. Yeah, but you knew that what was being said was not true.
Yeah.
You lying sack of shit. Love it. Again, my appreciation for this song just grew like tenfold since in preparation for this.
Yeah, no, me too. I'd never, to be honest, I'd never really delved too deep into this one. Like I always knew about it, and like I've listened to it lots. But that's what I appreciate about doing this podcast, is actually really forces me to really look into it all. And yeah, you appreciate it a lot more that way.
You have to, when you're really like gonna dissect something, you really have to take in the art and really like, you're not you don't have to dissect it or look at it like scientifically. You just have to like really feel it. Like if there's a song that's not, it's got the bells, it's a little weird, at parts, but like, if you're not in a mood to, I'm going to focus on this piece of art, you just skip. You go to Icky Thump or another album that puts out what you want to hear. So to actually sit down and be like, oh, this is powerful stuff. Like it's a special feeling.
Yeah. And there's a lot of we've talked a lot about the vocal performance, but there's something about that his guitar playing in this song and like the dynamics that he's playing with, and like in some of the live performances, how like I mean, me being a guitar player that's played through a lot of cranked amps, you can just tell that it is like that Silvertone and that Fender are dimed with how like lightly he's plucking the strings, and then when he digs in, how it just sounds broken. Yeah.
And yeah, this song is like, it's hard to hear it now because, music is so, modulated and over compressed, but like you really have to almost like lean in and listen to what he's saying. And like you hear the bells and you hear the innocence and you're like, what's he talking about? And then you either are listening so closely or you've turned it up to try to comprehend it. And then the wall of sound representing that rage just comes in, and it just, you feel it in a way that you wouldn't if they just compressed the shit out of this so it all sounded good and easy in the same level.
Yeah. There's also, I almost forgot, I wanted to mention this, the in the, I guess it would be the bridge, the if there's a lie then there's a liar too, that in the record version, that warble, like it's like a flanger or something on his voice, which is, I don't know, I feel like that was because that line is clearly meant to make somebody feel uncomfortable or like kind of look inward, and with that like warbly out of tune sound, it just it like it's uncomfortable to listen to in the first place, and then you add the impact of the lyrics behind it as well, and it's just, I just think I love when there's a term for it that I can't remember right now, but it's like when whatever effect you use really drives home what you're trying
for
to
sure
deliver lyrically.
It's he hits a nail on the head with that. Can you imagine listening to this song, like somebody from Detroit or wherever, and be like, just even thinking this song might be about you, you're like, oh shit. Back to the old reviews here. Pitchfork gave Get Behind Me Satan a 7.3. Where does he say here? The opening, Blue Orchid, maintains the Stripes' impressive streak of stellar singles as Jack's wild falsetto and processed, strangely electronic-sounding guitar combine for a heightened, spiteful crunch that's unlike anything they've done before. And even that sounds tame compared to the accusatory Red Rain, on which the singer, his voice thick with quivering distortion, angrily confronts his betrayer. If there's a lie, there's a liar too, and if there's a sin, there's a sinner too, with a spellbinding intensity, while a lurching floor of chiming bells and Hawaiian slide guitar spins beneath them. Rolling Stone liked the album too. They gave it 4.5 out of 5 and praised Meg for beating the shit out of her cymbals. I've taken that quote and replaced crap with shit because I feel that is accurate.
It really is.
And one last thing of reviews, which I feel is very accurate. Enemy, they've always loved the White Stripes. They gave the album an 8 out of 10. And Alex Needham deemed it a very brave record and called the White Stripes the real strange artistic deal. And it'll be a long time before Jack and Meg sell their souls. Your thoughts on that comment?
Oh, I mean, it hits home because they only did one more album. That was yeah. It is a very, I mean, I know, like when to relate to the whole, like, it being a brave album, like how they did so many different things, like especially those bells, like I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
um but it's very Jack White to be like, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I want to put these bells in a song, so we're gonna put these bells in a song. But it is like, I can relate to it on a personal note. Like when Dead Summer first started releasing music, I was my old band. There was we had a little bit of a following of people who really liked our music, and I was worried if, like, are those same people gonna want to come over and still listen to Dead Summer? And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that a lot of people did. But it is scary to, and you kind of have to be brave to venture out and do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, doing something a little bit different is adding desk bells to the White Stripes, but it also makes sense, and it's I do also love it when artists, and the White Stripes did this a lot, is when they just do what feels right, what they want to do, and that I
Yeah.
think always results in the best art in general, is if it's authentic and you're not holding back because you're scared of what people might think.
When I hear a very brave record, I think that you can internalize that as like condescending, like, oh, you're really brave for wearing that or saying that or doing whatever. But like, you normally hear something said like that around something that is not the best idea,
Right.
but you're brave for trying it. And I would argue the songs on Get Behind Me, Satan, with the exception of The Nurse, because I need to go listen to The Nurse about 45 times before as a grown up, before I give my opinion. But the weird stuff on Satan with the drums and the marimba and the bells, and the what's it called? What's the little guitar called on Little Ghost?
Oh, mandolin.
And the mandolin. Like, those are the things that stand out the most, is the moments in Get Behind Me, Satan, where Jack White's like, he was his bravest and he was ready to take the simplicity of the band and the tools at play to creating art, and he just, like, he got courageous and he's like, well, let's see if I can do it with this. So it is a brave record, and I think this is a brave song, and I think it kicks so much ass.
Absolutely. And brave, I mean, especially with this one, like with Red Rain, where he's calling somebody out, speaking up for themselves,
Damn straight. As for this song's live history, there was never a music video for this, but they released a visualizer in when the greatest hits came out. It was nothing remarkable. No offense to anybody there, but it doesn't really stand out. This song is performed 69 times, which is the 45th most song of all time on their second to last album.
That's pretty wild.
They loved playing this song,
and it makes sense. Just seeing them performing it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When this song is made up of parts of songs that the White Stripes love playing live, and they get lost in songs like Screwdriver or Death Letter or Ball and a Biscuit, or even on the last album. Like, I was jotting down what I think songs that are like live songs that encapsulate what they like about the band and what they like to do. I felt like every album had one, and I'd say Red Rain is this one. And it makes sense that seemingly every gig they played, more or less had Red Rain performed by them. But on Icky Thump, I think it's slowly turning into you. Like, these songs that just, like, they come out and you're like, oh, this is everything they want live.
Yeah.
And I think I Smell a Rat is the live song off White Blood Cells. Just so we've done all six, but
yeah,
this is a song made, created, and inspired by just like what they like to do live, in my opinion. And it's a perfect song for them to just lose their minds to. And the live performances are outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, it's sounds like the record. It feels like the record. And they're not trying to.
I was just gonna say it hits harder than the record, I find.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just and I'm sure it's them feeding off the crowd, but just the delivery again. And with this one, the delivery is really what makes it for me. And I'm sure screaming this song out to a massive crowd was exhilarating and probably very therapeutic.
Could not agree more. Jack has never performed this as a solo artist. That makes sense to me. This is a quintessential Jack and Meg song. So we won't hear it in that avenue or that forum anytime soon. But Nate, the next time you listen to Red Rain, what's going to go through your mind?
I'm probably gonna. I'll be thinking about what you were saying about, like, what if those bells, could they have been anything else? Which I think the answer is no.
I would agree with you.
I'll be focusing on, I'll be thinking about just how I don't know, the intensity of it. I think that's the other thing about the song, is it's so simple and it's so, like, clear cut that this is what they're trying to do. This is what they're trying to say. And they drive it home with, like, how repetitive it is. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, especially live, I think they could perform like a 15-minute version of this song and I'd be all over it.
Like, wait, why'd you stop?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think I will. I don't know if much will change. I think I'll just be taking in the intensity of it, because I think that's the purpose of the tune myself.
Oh man, that was Nate. I'm Ryan. That was Ryan and Nate. Really enjoyed that conversation. I love talking. There's a handful of people I've really developed a love and appreciation for discussing the White Stripes with, and Nate is very high on that list. And he's working in a record plant. How cool is that? As soon as I get my hands on a Dead Summer 7-inch single, then I'll be a happy camper. We're going to be back next week, of course, with a new episode. But in the meantime, it's very integral and important for me to remind you that the Hardest Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Ryan Schaap, artwork by Catlin Likely, Amanda Schultz is our assistant editorial producer, and Mike Noble is our Gato.